a story for the writing competition. And in order to do that, we need, first of all, to create the word that we're going to use. So we're going to name these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. But this is not just their name. This is not just their numbers. But we know that because we have the image up there, we know what's each. Put it here. So it's better, it's even better. You can see it better. So we have 1, 1. We can make it easier for us by adding what each part does. And so we know that this is going to be a short story that's the short story. How do I explain this? A short story only has, let's start establishing the general conventions. First of all, we have a limit, word limit of 15,000 words. That means that all these can only, in total, since it's 15,000, let's see how much is that in per space. Does anyone have a calculator? Let's see, where's my, oh no, I didn't want to do that. This is where I wanted to use it. Let's find 15, 1, 2, 3, 8. Let's say around 1,800 words per space. 1,800 words per bit. So we're only going to have one MC because we cannot develop so many characters. So we're going to have one MC, one secondary that, do we want the secondary, what type of story do we want to write? So that's going to change the direction this takes. Let's share this with our friends and family. Okay. Okay, we need at least one MC, one secondary, and depending on the story, we'll need one villain or not a villain, or just an antagonist. So that depends on the type of story we're going to write. So we're going to create just the MC because that's the only thing we need, an MC and one word. And everything else will be, what did I write wrong there? Oh, I said rolled. One MC and one word, because that's what we are going to be writing. And we're going to be writing fantasy. Let's make it fantastic. That's the one thing we're going to focus in this channel. We're going to write first of all romance and then fantasy. So we know that our first, if we are writing a romance, we need one one love interest, one love interest, one world. And we're not going to write a love triangle. We're going to write we're going to try to write something different, not the typical love story. We're going to write something between, let's say, now we can start brainstorming the things that we would like to have, because that will make the general conventions. When we talk about structure, it doesn't mean that you have a rigid space where things have to happen yes or yes, and that's the only way you can write it. Having general conventions means that that there are things that have to happen for it to be the story you want. So we know that since our main story is a romance, we have a love interest, we know that it's a fantasy, but now we have to decide what type of fantasy. Since okay, we're going to write it here: romance, fantasy. And what type of fantasy? We say that urban fantasy is going to start getting very big. So we're going to start getting that with urban fantasy. That's the type of fantasy. This is the subgenre within fantasy that we're going to be treating. And the third genre, we need a third one. Let's narrow it down, because that will help confect the story. So the first, romance, is what type of romance is it going to be? It's going to be a normal romance between male-female romance. I know, typical, no? But that's fine. Is it going to have, it's going to be fantasy, but is it going to be, now let's add the third, like the feeling that we have, that we want the reader to have at the end. Do we want them to feel, hey Tai, thank you for joining. Do we want them to feel fear? Do we want them to feel happiness? This last one gives us the overall context. So we might have an urban fantasy that the overall thing is horror. Then you'd focus on that horrific part, but then you can have it more focused on just the mystery. And instead of having people losing their lives or unsubscribing from life, you have them just almost on the brink of it. And let's see what else. So what would we like to have it do? I would say, since it's urban fantasy, let's give it a twist and make it, since it's Halloween, it's going to be in November. The competition is November. So if it goes out, we can do something related to Halloween, because that's when we're writing it. We can make it, let's make it about Halloween. So holiday Halloween. Halloween. Do we want it for, let's say, horror? I've never written horror, so this is going to be a great chance for all of us. You're going to have the chance to write your horror story. Me, I'll have the chance to write my first horror story. So let's go for it. Let me find you some music so you can have something in the background. Let's find, what do you like? Hurt, how you doing, Hurt? Let's see. Afrobeat. Right. How do you call that? Roma Moore. How you doing? The name of the copyright free Afrobeat. Let's see if this works.
Low-key, all of them done they notice. I'm not joking, all my guys them know me. Since 06, I've been writing.
Okay, perfect.
I know be OG, but if you
I think we got it.
I know they blow trees, so you don't need me low.
Can you hear me properly? Perfect, I think we got it. So we're going to keep going. We're going to, right now we're just deciding what are the things we're going to be needing. So for our romance we need a mid key, but we'll talk about that as we advance. But we're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep creating. Let's see.
I wanna be in your life until the night is over. I wanna hold you so tight, coming closer. It's been a hell of a ride.
I think I got it. So we need one love interest, one MC, and one antagonist. We'll decide, and the world will be the other character. So we need at the end 4 characters. One character, the world is going to be constant. That's because we're going to make something short, we don't have time. Or we could make it about the world and we wouldn't have time to deepen into the characters. So we have to decide. And in this sense, we're going to decide we're going to choose I want to show you something that you need to see. But I say because I need to do my own hole, but I think it's pretty. Ways a bit better. Perfect. Okay. So we have a lot of things that are fitting in the screen, I know. But this is what we have to do at the moment. These are the characters. These are the conventions. You have to be sure. You have to know exactly what are the things we are trying to achieve. And first of all, we're trying to create. I don't know why you say holiday. It's Halloween or it's a romance, urban fantasy in Halloween. I've always wanted to write something about different creatures in literary life. like the League of the Extraordinary Men, but mixed with the cinematic universe, like the MCU. So this could be the beginning of that story. You know what I mean? So hey, author, let me see the name in time. Hey, VW Smith, thank you for joining. We are writing. There is a writing competition, November 26th. I'm competing, so I'm helping people have the chance to win second prize. I'm not that good, but I like thinking that I am. So if you want to participate, you have something that you have written and you want to turn in, I recommend you can check my last video. There I have the email for this competition. Eric, thank you for joining. Silver Jim, thank you for joining too. And Smith, if you what's VW? Hey, if you don't mind me asking, or you prefer just Smith? Well, the competition, you can turn in anything, so that's what we. Oh, really? Perfect. You can. Right now, we're trying to put together the things that we need to be able to write a story. I don't like writing short stories. I like bigger narratives. So I'm going to use this as an excuse to improve my short story skills and to put a full story in 1500 words. And I think it should be easy because in order to write an entire section, 1800 words is going to be super easy. So here is the structure that we're going to use, the things that I think that will be necessary to create a full-on story. And yeah, so we're going to write that and let me know what you think. Then if you want, you can turn in a part of it. Turn 1500 words worth of your book and see what people think, see what they tell you about it. It's worth they try the submission. And if you can share this live session, that would be awesome. Don't forget to boop on the screen and yeah. So I'm feel free to stay as much as you want. I'll be talking while writing and hey William, and greeting people as they come in now. So as I was saying, we need these things. We need the elements of a romance, the elements of a urban fantasy, and the elements of a Halloween horror. We have shown these are the three storylines, and as we can see in the graph, there's 3 lines. There's one for what do I say there? Genre 1, Genre 2, and Genre 3. So Genre 1 is going to be our romance. That means that the first thing that we see on screen is the meet cute. So we're going to write down here 1, 2, and we know that this one doesn't enter here. And you should already know which ones are the genre convention because we have talked about this before. But we're going to write down here hey Shay, inciting incident. Then here we're going to write object of desire. Or we'll just say desire. then here we say this one is, even though you should know this, we are going to still work on them because at the end they appear in every part. We have desire. Then after the desire, we have the new world. And in the new world, we have, well, then 3 and 4 is new world entirely. Both of them. Hey, Samuel. So this is allies. How do you write ally? Ally. Oh yeah, ally slash asset. And then here we have enemies slash liabilities, and then after that we have different elements in number 5. Here's where we have a point of interest. Our MC realizes that whatever they were doing doesn't work, so they have to start doing something different. From the MC's point of view, they need to do something different, and here's when they start realizing what are the things they need to do. So I usually call this section learn, and this section I call it master, because the things that they learned in the previous one, they're going to master it in this one. And then after that we have like they call it always, darkest hour. That's going to be the story. Elena, thank you for joining. And then after that, after the darkest hour, we have the conclusion. Let's just call it conclusion. So for the first genre, since it's a romance, we have the meet cute. Since it's a urban fantasy, it's a meet cute, comma, in Chicago, because I love Chicago, in Chicago. It's my favorite city, in Chicago. Meet cute, in Chicago. Why? Because it's urban fantasy. So since it's urban fantasy, we need urban fantasy elements. That means that we can have werewolves, vampires, banshees, whatever we want, but it has to be in a contemporary setting. That means we can decide later what creatures we want. But we can start saying that this is a werewolf because it's full moon. So during a full moon. That's the inciting incident, a full moon. That's for the romance. We're only going to be thinking about the romance, and as it says in the graph, we're just going to answer the questions for the spaces that we have. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. The world is told like straight, like directly all across the thing, like the main character. The world and the main character are like this, intertwined. They affect each other directly, like this. Desire. Let's go with desire. When we talk about desire, is the thing that they want. In this point, what does the MC want so badly that that's what they're going to find in the romance, in the love interest. So since we don't know what is it yet, we can say ever MC lacks love interest has. That's how we're going to show it. If it's tardiness, if one is late always, the other one is always on time. It's going to be completely opposite because the contrast, we're going to try to look for the biggest amount of contrast. At the end, contrast makes it look more interesting. So we're going to take everything that we need first, then we're going to lie together, and then we're going to write what goes where. And we're slowly going to build this story every day from 5 to 6 or from 5 to 6:30. I'm not sure yet. So the love interest has. And since we're just talking about the first genre, we're going to do this genre 1. Romance. Male female romance. So it's going to be a little bit typical. There's nothing, since it's our first, we're not going to make the strange thing their type of relationship, but everything else. So since this is the romantic part, we're just going to keep it simple. Who are the allies? Who's the MC's ally? We can say it can be a family member or a friend. And since it's a romance, it's better if it's a best friend, a female best friend or a male best friend of the opposite sex, or that could be attracted, or they could be attracted to each other. But since it's not going to be a love triangle, that's not going to be the main theme. That's just there to make the reader feel like there's some tension possibly happening. It's going to be completely fabricated, but the readers are going to really enjoy the fact that we added that into the story. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, I could lower the music. I've been talking to this music so loud all this time for no reason. Okay, I think that's perfect. That was too low now. Okay, I think we got it. So keep giving likes and thank you very much for joining. We are learning how to do this. We're doing this together for the first time. So be nice to me. Be nice to me. Let me drink some water. Okay, the ally is going to be an old love interest. And with this, we are going to try to say that it's possible to transform an old relationship into a new relationship, but they both need to understand that. So then we can decide what we're trying to say with this story and with the characters that we're adding. Okay, let me find the ally that we're going to use is the old love interest, no, old love transform, no, yes, we say best friend, BF, hey, BF, old love, plus that happens to be love interest sibling. Now we have them both connected. Enemy or liability. What are the problems that they have? What's the, because we know that the desire is the thing that one has, the other one lacks. So we know that they have opposite. And the thing that's going to tell us in a romance, was the problem. It can be communication. These are going to be things that are problems in relationships. So we can find what are typical things that are problems in our own relationships and use that as fuel. That can be things that have happened in the past to us, or that we can have been the problem, or others could have been the problem. But this is the moment in which we have the chance to put a little bit of who we are into the story. So the enemy and liability is, let's say, it can be trust issues. It can be emotional unavailability and unavailability. I don't know how to say it now. It can be problems with communication. It can be anything, any problem that you have, bigger or smaller, in your relationship, can be the thing that fuels this part. And the more relatable it is, the better. So we are going to think something that I've seen lately, that, let's say, emotionally unavailable. Then we'll decide what that means. So what do they learn? That intimacy is a strength. And then what do they master? Being intimate with each other. And then we'll see what it means in terms of the urban fantasy and the Halloween horror story. But we're going to go step by step. We're not going to put too much or not too little, because at the end we only have 15,000 words total. Hey Daphne, Heather. So we're not going to waste all that space with things that lately are not going to be relevant to the story, because we have a short story. And then we'll decide who are each of these things. The darkest hour. Intimacy isn't enough. It needs real change, real emotional commitment. So we're going to go slowly, building first each thing, where it means and where it goes. Then the conclusion, commitment and emotional and intimacy. And let's see, commitment and something else, something that we never thought. This is the ultimate lesson. Intimacy and the ultimate lesson. We don't know yet what lesson is it going to be, so we are going to add things here. theme. We need theme A and B. One is going to be changing and one is going to be static. They both still have the 8 faces and they are going to appear in the thing in different ways. So B, don't worry about it yet. It's just there because we're going to need it. We have already finished the general conventions for a romance. Any romance needs this. The thing is that since we know what are the other elements, we're going to do this. Genre 2, our second genre is urban fantasy. In urban fantasy, what happens in the inciting incident in an urban fantasy? We're introduced to the fantastical elements in the city. So we're going to choose a succubus and a, how do you write succubus? A succubus and a werewolf. Those are the elements we're introduced to during the desired point. We don't know what is it that one has and the other one lacks yet. We haven't written those things and we don't care yet. At this point, we're only seeing the things that we need for the story that we want to write. So then in the section 2, or in the next square of the genre, we have 3. Who are the allies for the succubus and the werewolf? We still don't know who's the main character and who's the love interest. We don't know that yet. So we know that one is the same person, is the love interest, is the old love interest and a sibling. So we're going to say that what's in between these two? It can be a ghost or a spirit, something in between. That way, we have new elements, or a witch. Witch, that way, is someone that can be in connection with both of them. And then we can create those other connections more freely. So we have a witch that we don't know what else can we say about urban fantasy and the witch. Witch that owns a coffee shop that owns a tattoo shop. No, not a tattoo shop, because it needs something. Let's see, something that has to do with succubus and werewolves. A witch. What does a succubus do, first of all? I'm here. Succubus. Oh. Okay, so we're going to the succubus. Now I like the story that we're going to make. Succubus and the werewolf. Okay, now I think I know a little bit more. And since the witch owns a vintage store specialized in silver. What's this called? What are spoons and forks? Spoons and forks, whatever that's called. Then we have the bad part. What does the witch do that negatively infects the succubus and the werewolf? Oh, the witch works for the church in order to the church enforce magic rules. For the church enforcing magic rules. And then we learn, what do we learn? What can we learn about the succubus, the werewolf, and all this? What do they learn? That there is a spell. Hey, Jensen, Sufra, Gloria, thank you for joining. There is a spell that can make the werewolf human. What do we master? They need... no, this is 7 in 6. Here is 7. So what do they discover? That if he's human, he will die if he connects with her. What's the darkest hour? They discover that the witch is... no, it's a good thing. What do we discover? It's not about the witch being working for the church, because that's the thing that we discover, and it's to keep us like, what's going to happen? That's not the main thing of the story. So what's the conclusion in this story where the succubus and the werewolf that they don't care, that we say that love self-sacrifice is the last ingredient needed. So now we are building the story. As you can see, the story is getting more complex and more interesting. We're going to be here until for 1 hour, for 15 more minutes. You can continue, we'll continue probably Monday, and you can watch this video on YouTube. And we'll be here every day of the week writing this story from 5 to 6, because the deadline is very soon. So we don't need those ones. Oh, no, not there. Pam 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 pam. So now genre 3, we say that it's a Halloween horror. So for it to be in a Halloween horror, the inciting incident has to be happening in Halloween night. Something horrific happens. We'll decide what's that later. We don't know. So just has to happen. What's the enemy? The horrific occurrence how do you write that? The horrific event, the horrific act is more horrific. So then we go with 5. We know that 5 is is going to be something good. So since the something horrific happens the night of Halloween. Then we have the number 5 was we learn how to solve the horrific event. And then lastly, 8, we solve the horrific event. And then if we want to make this stronger, we can change 4 with 5 and make this, because this shouldn't be like this should be 7. This 5 should be 7. So, and yeah, and this one would be 4. So the horror becomes extremely horrific. And here we learn, because it's the short thing, no? We learn about the horrific. We learn what's causing. We learn about the cause of the horrific event. And these are the things we need in terms of genre. These are the main elements. Then we'll introduce MacGuffins, the specific days, we'll introduce the love interest, we'll decide all those other things, and we'll add them to this. So the genre 2, we said it's urban fantasy. Urban fantasy. Day 3, genre 3 is Halloween horror. When we say horror, we can decide later what we mean. If it's slasher, ghost. Since we have what type of horror, we can also decide if the horrorness is an event happening in the world or it's something happening with the characters. And the love interest is going to have one characteristic that's going to be the way they approach the love interest, another one the way they approach the world, and another one the way they approach the antagonist. No, only those 2. The antagonist will be born as a strength, as a force against our MC. I'm going to come back in a second. I'm still here. You can see the comments. Hi, I'm back. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. We have 5 more minutes left. Since we know that the world this is going to happen in Chicago, we write that there, and we'll decide in what way Chicago is important in the story. And we have the antagonist. We know that the MC is going to be, we have a werewolf. You know what? I like that the MC is going to be the Banshee, not the Banshee, the Succubus. Succubus is the werewolf. Antagonist will decide later. And hey, David, thank you very much for the hurt me. And these are the things that we know so far: that the MC is the succubus, that the love interest is the werewolf. I'm writing a story for a competition on November 26th. So if you want to join or you want to write your own story and try to win the second prize, that would be, you can join me here and learn how to write if you already don't know. And if you know, well, you can compete against me. Hey, and thank you for the ghost. Thank you very much for the gifts. Yeah, so we're almost done here today, but I'm going to keep going a little bit, probably not with this project per se. I want people to have the chance to join and decide in which capacity. So you're welcome to tag along from Monday to Friday, 5 to 6. I might change the time if it becomes more convenient a little bit later in the day, but yeah, and maybe during the weekend we can do a. It's hard to see. Oh, it's hard to see the comments. Let me think how to do this. You are going to see a little bit less, but better. Now you can see all of them, but you can see more for sure. A little bit better, at least. Let me see if I can cut this. Pam, param, pam, pam. And if I cut out this, because at the end this is what we need. The other part is just for sure. So okay, we got it. I think now you can see comments, you can see I just set it up. This is the camera of my laptop, and this is my webcam. That's my secret. Ha ha ha. So yeah, and thank you for the likes and for commenting and everything. Let's see. So I was saying that the antagonist is going to be the horrific event. So if it's going to be Halloween, let's say, and the problem is a succubus, then they need to sacrifice. When they die, we're going to say the antagonist on Halloween is going to be the Grim Reaper, because yes, thank you very much for joining, and feel free to join another time if you can, and enjoy your making your own content. Not Grim Reaper. So we're going to make it more relevant to the things that are in time. Maybe it's not a story that's going to be absolutely necessary in this moment, because Halloween is happening now and it's not going to be out in time for it to be enjoyed and marketed properly. So whatever we write now is going to be for the future, and this work that you're doing now, don't feel like it works for nothing, because this is work that you're doing that's going to work for your future. Once you participate, this is one certainty that you are competing in. This is work that you can show to others. It's progress that you can show. So don't be discouraged. Okay. And when we have the theme A, we have already said that is emotional unavailability, and so if we have have a good day. Thank you very much for joining, Dave. Lulu, thank you for joining. How you doing? So we know that the theme A is emotional unavailability. That's the one that has to change. So we make a arrow into emotional vulnerability plus intimacy. And then we know that the one that doesn't change, the one that, oh well, I like it more when these are opposite. When this one is A and this one is B, the one that changes is B, and the one that doesn't change, no. It doesn't matter really, because it doesn't really matter. Then we go with B. That's going to be our next this one is going to change. It's not going to change, but it also needs some sense of progression, even though we're not going to get a conclusion for it. So we say that it's intimacy. That's the one that and we'll see in what ways they can be vulnerable to each other. And that shows who they are as characters, as a werewolf and as a succubus. And those weaknesses have to somehow represent weaknesses of people in real life. It cannot be, oh, the werewolf is just werewolfing, because there's no one that can connect to that. But what does being a werewolf mean in the real world? Can be body dysmorphia, can be because of being hairy or because of being problems with humor, being aggressive. So we have to see what does these things mean, not just from a fictional point of view, but from a macroscopic lens. When we see it bigger from the outside, what does this mean as humans? That's how you make a story feel connected, and people even be like, oh, I don't like this character, but I can connect with their actions. I can understand why they do that, because it's not based on nothing, it's based on the ideas we've already built. So we have a change in the way intimacy minus a emotional connection, and then how that the transformation goes from having from not having one and having them both. Then we see both. So, and what does that, and then we'll add the other things that mean, what does that mean for our characters? But that will continue about it on Monday. Tomorrow we'll go through it again, because we've been touching through a lot of subjects. We have gone through what's important in a romance, what's important in a urban fantasy, what's important in a horror story. So at the end, we're always going to get something to learn. There's always a lesson, not because we're trying to educate, but because when you show who you are, there's no other option but to learn about you. And when we write a story in which I don't know how to say this. Any story you write, you're putting a little bit of you, and if it's intentional, it's easier to control the message, or to control how you want to be perceived, even though, well, not you per se, but also you or the story, and the story, because the tone of the story will change which perspective you give, and the stories you choose to tell will also differ depending on who you are as a person. And that will be another thing that will give the readers a little bit of a look of who you are as a person. And that's why also writing can be scary, because people feel like they're putting too much of them in the story and people can see them. But that's what makes the stories interesting. So let's go with this is it for now, and we're going to be doing this until we have the story ready for sending to the competition. We're going to set an alarm November 20th. We're going to revise everything and make a calendar, and how far we should have everything by the end of the month and all that. I don't know if we'll win, but as I said, we're doing this to be able to say that we have done it. Minimum, at least you have to be able to say that you have participated. And the only way you can do that is by writing. Not by writing a good book, not by writing a good story, not by writing a good poem, just by writing. And that's where your strength is right now. The fact that you have the chance to just write. And since we have this written, this is talked about for today, we're going to stop this, and I'm going to start my own writing because I'm a little bit behind for today because I was focusing on this, on bringing you this. So goodbye, and thank you very much for joining this session. Since this is done, let me do like this. Bum, bum, bum. And this one. This is my own.